Hello, so today we have the POPOSOAP 8-watt solar fountain and filter. And let's unbox it and see what we have in here. From what I'm expecting and what I've seen from their products in the past, we should have quite a lot of different parts that will be pretty versatile. Okay, so I think this is for mounting the solar panel. And here is the 8-watt solar panel. And it's got a quick connect on the back. And then that just slides on there like that. And I'm guessing there's a spike or something like that coming up. Here's the filter apparatus. I can hear the ceramic beads in there. And the point of the beads is to create a lot of surface area for biofilm to form that provides some biological filtration. So we have these little balls that are called bioballs, I think, that provide surface area, and then we have these ceramic beads as well. The actual filter and pump unit is here. So this would plug into the solar panel. And this is a little pre-filter, and this is the pump, and the pump attaches to a couple of options. We have tubing, so you could use this to run a fountain that would be some distance from the pump, but we also have the actual filter or fountain heads. So we have a variety of fountain heads here that we can choose from to get different effects. And I can't quite get this open, so we're just going to cut it. So it looks like we can kind of choose, these little heads attach on there, so you can choose how much spray you want and the patterns, although they do look kind of similar. That one's a little bit different. And then you can also have multi-level fountains where you have something happening and then something happening above. So I'll give you an example of what that would look like here. You would have that on top of perhaps this, which would install on here, and you can kind of create this cascade effect where you have something happening up top and then a smaller type of fountain happening down below. We have a spike for the solar panel. We have some drywall mounting screws and anchors if you wanted to mount the solar panel on a wall. And we have a little manual to tell us how to use it, how to put it together, and what the options are. So we'll see how this works. I'm curious about the water depth, the maximum water depth that this can handle, because my little pond might actually be deeper in a lot of places than this can go up. So we'll see. But let's get it outside and put together and see it in action. Okay, so before we get this out in the pond, we do need to kind of put it together and make sure that all the components are where they need to be. So we have this plastic base here, and in the base sits the actual pump. And then there are these mesh things that kind of serve as pre-filters. There's one here, and then there's this one that actually goes on top. But before that goes on top, you got to make sure that this is lined up. It has little suction cups on the bottom that keep it in place. So we've got to make sure that that is there and that this lid fits snugly. There we go, that's what we want. So it looks like we've got that in the right place. So now that that's in the right place, then we can put in some of the media that is designed to provide surface area. So we've got the plastic balls, and then we have all of these ceramic balls as well. So those go in there. And again, these provide an area for biofilm, basically bacteria that are going to consume nutrients out of the water as they grow, and that's going to help to keep your pond clean. This filter goes on top. So again, this is sort of the pre-filter that's going to scrub the big crud out of the water as it gets sucked into this box. And then it snaps down. This end plugs into the solar panel and you're ready to go. All right, welcome to the pond. So let's get this thing installed and see how it does. We've got our solar panel here that is installed kind of facing to the south, so it's getting direct sun. It terminates in this wire, and that plugs into this wire that comes out of the pump. The pump is installed inside of this plastic box here with the ceramic filters and the bio beads, and we have just one of the regular fountain type options installed on the top. Now I can already tell that I'm going to have to install this in a fairly shallow section of the pond in order to get to make sure that this is still actually going to be above the water. I wish that there were a few more extensions because, as you can see, the pond, it's about 2 feet deep in sections. And if I wanted to put this in the middle as kind of a central water feature, it just wouldn't work because this part here would be underwater. So let's go ahead and we'll sit this in right about here. Nope, that's going to be too deep. So we'll try it there. And it also does need to be installed fairly level in order for the actual fountain part to work, or at least look nice. Okay, so let's take this over here and get this plugged in. It's got a watertight connector on it. A little hard to do with one hand right now. But there we go. All right, so it's going pretty well. You can see that the solar panel is in full sun and it's really spraying up probably a good 3.5, 4 feet or so. And it's also running the water through that filter that exists inside of the box there containing the mesh, the foam mesh, which is kind of a pre-filter, and then it's got the biological filters once the bacteria actually will grow on all of that surface area. And that's really designed to pull nutrients, especially nitrogen, out of the water as it passes through there. So we'll see how this does through the day. You can tell that the sun has just gone in a little bit and that fountain has come down about 1 foot. So it's pretty directly correlated to the amount of sun that is hitting the solar panel. Let's see if I stand in front of the solar panel and block it. Yeah, it really does come down. So there doesn't seem to be any buffer. I know in some of the other systems, there is a battery that kind of stands in between the fountain and the sun, or the fountain and the solar panel, which provides a more consistent experience to the fountain, even when the sun kind of goes in and out. So I'll step away and the fountain comes right back up. So I wish this had that. I wish this had that battery buffer to make for a more consistent fountain experience that was a little bit removed from what the sun was doing. Stand in front of the panel again here, and it gets quite low. Coming across, there we are. So it does give a pretty good response even on cloudy days. It is a little bit cloudy right now, but I do wish that it had a more consistent pumping volume, meaning that it had a battery in there that was sort of, the solar panel was recharging the battery was then providing power to the pump, so it was a more consistent visual experience. But you know, we'll see. Maybe it'll get a little bit interesting as the day goes on. I'll update later. Okay, I did want to show some of the other nozzles and the effects that they can create. So this is just the standard sort of sprinkler nozzle. Let me zoom in on that so you can see that one. And we'll try a different one here. All right, so this one is the same. It just has a few less holes. So not quite as dense a spray pattern. A little bit more of a light shower, I suppose, but still pretty attractive. Okay, this one's just like a cap that has a couple of little holes in it, and it creates this sort of unique star-shaped pattern. That one actually has pretty pleasant audio associated with it. And then lastly, we just have this one that is a cap with a single hole, and it just sends up a single jet of water, which also kind of creates an interesting effect. You can sort of see it separating there a little bit, and it's getting really high now that the sun is coming out. Wow, that's a pretty dramatic change on that one with the sun. Now we're in full sun, and it's about 4.5 feet or so. Zoom out a little bit so you can get the effect. That's a pretty big difference. So those are your display options, but there's one more. Okay, I wanted to show this to you before I put it on, because this is like your mushroom display, and you can control the size of the mushroom by how far this top cap is screwed up or down. And I'll give you an example of that in just a sec. All right, so this is the effect of this one, and you can adjust this by changing. Oh, loosened it too much. But if you put it on and tighten it way down, that mushroom cap really kind of spreads out and can apparently kind of fall apart if you screw it down too much. So that's kind of an interesting effect, and of course it's going to be proportional to the sunlight that's hitting the solar panel. I think I am a fan of just the regular sprinkler head, but I guess we'll see. All right, so let's talk about what I like and what I don't like about the POPOSOAP 8-watt fountain and filter. First off, I love the fact that it's a filter. You don't see too many small fountain and pond pumps that include the filter. And this has filtration through two different mechanisms. It has these sort of mesh screens that are going to be sort of a coarse filter to actually filter out debris. And then it has the ceramic balls and the plastic balls inside that are going to allow biofilm to grow, to pull nutrients out of the water as it passes through. So that's a big plus. I like the fact that it has multiple nozzles, and it gives you a lot of choice and opportunity to do different things with your water display. That's always great. I love that it has a powerful pump, and that the solar panel has the power to actually move a lot of water through the day. What I don't like is that the stem is too short. You can really only use this in very shallow water. I wish that they had included a float that you could attach the nozzle to. They did include the tubing, and a piece of foam for a flotation would be a really inexpensive addition that they could include, which would allow you to use this in much deeper or variable depth water, because the nozzle would attach to that foam float, which would sit on top of the water, and the tubing would connect to the pump, which would be deeper in the pond. This is also great for circulating water through the pond a little bit better, because the pump can be far from the nozzle. So I was a little disappointed that we didn't have that. I'm also not crazy about the fact that the power of the filter and the pump is directly proportional to the intensity of the sunlight. I've had other filters in the past, or other pumps, solar pumps in the past, that have had a battery in between the pump and the solar panel, and that levels out that power. It basically allows the solar panel to charge the battery, and then the pump runs off the battery. So the pump runs more consistently, and it even runs for a period of time after it gets dark until the battery runs down. So I wish that that had been included with this pump as well. I understand that would increase the cost, but I think that does really improve the effectiveness, especially if you have a lot of variable sunlight through the day. But overall, I'm really pleased with the pump, and I'm excited to use it in my pond. I think it's going to make a difference in the cleanliness of the pond, because it is going to run continuously, and you're going to have that filtration. A little curious to see how often I'm going to have to clean the filters. I guess that's partially going to be determined by how dirty the pond is, which is actually pretty clean. So we'll see how it goes. But overall, I'm impressed. I think this is a great unit, and I'm really excited to have it in my pond. Thanks.